On today's show, Kyrie Irving as the backup plan if things don't work out with James Harden? What? Plus, should the Houston Rockets consider trade down options with the 4th overall pick? It's all coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
The Houston Rockets select Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith Jr.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
Every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
Hey, Houston fans, I am so happy.
You're getting somebody who's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, somebody who's going to come in and compete from day one.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on the way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for making LOR part of your day every single day. Joining us now is your weekly co-host, Frank, from the Rockets Chop Shop. You can track down on Twitter at FTank58 and at HTX Chop Shop. Be sure to go give him a follow, like, subscribe, all of that on YouTube as well for great Rockets content. And Frank, we've got a couple different things we're going to tackle here today. We're going to get into some draft trade down hypothetical scenarios and a report that the Orlando Magic might be looking to trade into the top end of the lottery and whether or not the Rockets should take advantage of that. But first things first, how you feeling about Kyrie Irving and Mark Stein's little report that the Rockets might shift gears and pursue him if things don't necessarily work out with James Harden?
To me, I mean, it's seeming like the Rockets are just trying to explore new ways to self-sabotage and escalating as each report comes out in the way. I'd be shocked if we didn't try to go after Miles Bridges next and say that we want to sign him. But the Kyrie, I'm a Kyrie fan. I love Kyrie Irving in a vacuum. I guess the idea of Kyrie Irving, of what he is as a basketball player. He's one of the most gifted ball handlers in the NBA. He's, footwork master. He's a bucket, champion, et cetera, et cetera. But, like I just tweeted, what is the cost of him helping us win 40 games and then saying he can't suit up because he has personal reasons? And it's just the availability thing. And he's asking for, a long contract up to $200 million. I mean, the dude hasn't played a full season in I don't know how many years, and half the time it's not even because he's injured, it's because of other issues that are going on with him.
Extenuating circumstances.
Extenuating circumstances. Like that should be like his on the back of his jersey. Like it should just say number 5 extenuating circumstances.
I'm sorry. I just immediately pictured like when they were in the bubble with the different positive all the progressive messaging. Yeah, it just says extenuating circumstances.
What's buddy name that does the announcements for the Rockets when he's calling them, Jalen Green and your starting point guard, number 5 from Duke University, extenuating circumstances. He's gonna come out. I don't like it. Not because I don't like Kyrie, just for us. This is not a move for the Rockets. It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense. Like, even to me, James Harden is a better short-term option because of his skill set than Kyrie Irving is. So as much as I love Kyrie, I don't want that guy anywhere in Houston. I don't want him even close to the team.
There's something scary about the idea of him coming to Houston. And like you said, right, you commit all that money to him. And I agree with you so much in the idea of like, in theory, right, Kyrie, the basketball player, is fantastic, right? And we have, it's kind of funny because we have like similar conversations about like, well, Kevin Porter Jr., the basketball player, in theory can be really, really good. Obviously not on the same level as Kyrie. And there's still like that little bit of hope as to seeing like what Ime Udoka might be able to unlock with him, like all that stuff. But the idea that the Rockets are kind of taking whatever they can and just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if something's going to stick, right? Okay, well, if we can't get James, what's the next biggest name on the market, right? Let's go get Kyrie. And I know that the Rockets internally actually do like Kyrie as a basketball player, which adds a little bit more concern to the idea that this could be something legitimate. Now, if I were to give you a set of options here, Frank, right? So much of this is, okay, well, so much of the messaging, everything that the Rockets have said and done this offseason points to the fact that they really don't look like they're trying to run Kevin Porter Jr. back at point guard next season, right? Like whether it means they're bringing James Harden in, whether it's going after Kyrie Irving, maybe it's a different target. I mean, a lesser of multiple different evils here. Would you rather run things back again with KPJ at point or bring Kyrie in and let him run the show?
No, that's a crazy question. Honestly, I would rather just run with KPJ because at the end of the day, his contract has a lot of outs in it. It's low impact on our cap space, and at least for the most part, he's going to be there. And it also doesn't take away your ability to be able to land free agents in subsequent years. And that's really my biggest thing, even against James Harden. It's not James Harden in a vacuum. I could see the value of bringing Harden to the team, for 2 years, but after that, I look down at the free agency market and the trade market of upcoming stars. And I want us to be in prime position, as is usual for teams that are young. You don't just go in when you're that, this early in our rebuild. You want to go in when you feel like you have the ability to actually compete for a championship. And I just don't think that the Rockets, I don't know what they're doing with all these rumors. I'm hoping it's like smoke screens, just trying to make everybody seem like we'll do anything. So there's unpredictability there. But it just seems like we're like the NBA thought. We're the team that everybody uses. Hey, man, if you don't sign me, I'm going to Houston. It could be any player. We're just the default for, hey, that's, I'm going to go over there if you don't sign me. So it's, I just hope it's just smoke screens because it doesn't make sense.
I want everybody to prepare themselves for all the Bruce Brown rumors too. As soon as free agency gets here, Bruce Brown's gonna be like, I'm going to Houston, 4 years, $80 million. Let's go. It's happening. He's going to use Houston as his maximum leverage play. I want to get to the draft stuff here in 1 second, but Frank, I got one more hypothetical for you.
Okay.
Sign Kyrie Irving or let Kenny Smith come out of retirement to run point for the Houston Rockets. Which one are you taking?
Nah. I seen Kenny run to that board on TNT. I'm a definitely sign Kyrie.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
them knees ain't gonna make it, bro. Yeah, them knees ain't gonna. Yeah, bring Kyrie on, bro. We'll get him hooked up with whatever he needs. He can take all the personal breaks. Wait till he finds out Tillman's political view. Then we're really gonna be in trouble.
Man, he's gonna help Jalen Green open up his third eye, that's for sure. All right, coming up, we're gonna get into our NBA draft speculation, what the Rockets may or may not be able to do, and whether or not they should entertain the idea of trading down in this year's draft from pick number 4. We're gonna get there in just one moment. But first, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the exact same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head on over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage section and look for the green check to know that your part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, Frank, we got a report that said from USA Today's Michael Scotto that there is at least a belief around the league that Orlando is open to moving the number 6 and number 11 picks if the Magic can move into that 3 to 5 range of the NBA draft. And lo and behold, Houston Rockets are right there in the middle of that range at pick number 4. Now, the reporting on this could be angling towards the idea of, right, it says 3 to 5 range, and it might be more so the idea of, well, if they can get up to pick number 3 and get one of Scoot or Brandon Miller, then yeah, they'd be willing to unload picks 6 and 11. But I do think it presents an interesting possibility here because I don't know about you, but after Miller and Scoot, I know we're both bought in on Scoot Henderson, what he can be, what he's probably going to be as an NBA player. I've got my fears and concerns with drafting Amin Thompson. I think he's going to be a project guy and he's going to take some time. I might be more inclined, if I were the Houston Rockets, right, to just move down from pick 4, assuming Orlando would be, interested in this type of possibility. Maybe something like picks 4 and 20 for 6 and 11. And while you don't get, I don't know, as big of a bite at like a star at the top of the draft with an Amin Thompson or a Cam Whitmore, if you're down there at 6, you're still going to get maybe one of the Thompson twins or Cam Whitmore, somebody that you might still be able to get at 4. And then you get another chance at a really solid prospect at 11. I know the idea of bringing in 2 rookies is not super great, but I think there's something maybe there.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about, is if they trade back. And trading back is not bad. I think the Orlando situation is it's because of the 2 picks. Because honestly, I don't expect the Rockets to draft both picks in this current draft. Mm-hmm. I would assume they trade it. So if they basically go back from 4 to 6, and then
part of that, just part of that, right, is because pick 20, like you're talking about a very different prospect from pick 20 to pick 11, right? Like if the Clippers pick had turned into, a lottery pick instead of pick 20, maybe we'd be having different discussions, or maybe the posturing would be a little bit different around what their plans were for that pick. Right now, they're definitely not drafting 20. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So
I would think like for their goal to improve the team in the short term, while still, I'm hoping, trying to kind of let the young guys develop, adding 2 more rookies would probably be not sustainable for them. So the way I would view it, 6 and 11 are better trade chips than if you wanted to draft 4 and just traded away 20. So to me, that may signal to me, if they trade back out of the 4th spot, that they're more likely to move those 2 picks to acquire a player that could help them win now than actually draft them. I'm actually I was thinking of here's a trade back idea that I have that could work on both parties. This one assumes James Harden is on the team. So let's say we do sign James Harden to free agency. I know one of the centers that a lot of Rockets fans have been, clamoring for is Miles Turner. You got Indiana sitting there in the 7th pick. If you could trade back to 7 and basically maybe add a future first with protections on it for Miles Turner, and then they get the 4th pick for that. They can add a top-tier talent to next to their young guys they already have. You could add a Miles Turner to a James Harden led team. That gives you the center. It's a guy that works with Alperen Sengun. You're not really giving up anything. And if you wanted to, guess who, at 7, you could have Jarris Walker. Maybe he slips down there. Maybe you get a Sar Thompson is still there. So I think that's a scenario, and it doesn't even have to be James Harden. That, to me, that's the win now, but we can still draft good scenario, which I'm actually intrigued by that look. To me, the Orlando thing, the 6 and 11 it's almost the same thing. Maybe you move the 11th pick, like you said, it's better than 20, so you'll probably get a better return on it and draft at 6. So trading back is not the end of the world for me. Like, I don't think we have to. If it's not Scoot, then yeah, I'm okay with, because that's how I see the draft. After the Scoot Henderson, it kind of gets into a tier of a bunch of players that, you can make arguments for whether we should pick one over the other.
I'm torn on the Indiana one. I like it. I don't know if Indiana would do it, though, because, right, they extended Miles Turner, and they were on pace with that group to make the playoffs before Tyrese Halliburton got injured this past season, right? I think they were floating around like, the 5th or 6th seed, like something like that. They looked pretty solid, and I know that, Miles Turner is one of those guys whose name has been in rumors, forever, alongside, John Collins and a handful of other guys who are just constantly on the trade block seemingly. But I don't know if they'd be willing to move him for just the future who would they take it for that they couldn't possibly get at 7, right? Like, I'm looking at them as like the Jarris Walker destination, right? Like, he would be a great fit for them. So, like, if you were to make that deal, who do you think the Pacers would be comfortable taking?
I would say they have I like their team construction as is, because they already have Halliburton. They have a point guard. They have a scorer in
Matherin.
I think they need probably defense. And I think they need somebody that could play on the wings a little bit more, kind of shore up that defense, because as good as Buddy Hield is, he's not really doing a lot on that end. And if his shots not dropping, it's not there. I think that one of the Thompson twins, maybe Amen, falls to them at 4. I think he's a player that you add more playmaking there, because Benny Matherin is not passing the rock. He is a one-track, he's one of those guys who'll drop 40 and have like 0 assist type of players. So I think they probably need more playmaking on the team. It's a lot on Tyrese to try to carry that load. I could see them get like a backcourt. And with what Tyrese does, his shooting, Matherin's, hopefully he improves as a 3-point shooter, but he's a bucket. You get some shooters around them. You had length at 6'7", versatile guard. I think I would like either Thompson in Indiana. So it just depends. All of these trades depend on what the other teams value in that top 5 range, and whether they see that compared to Miles Turner. Because to me, I've seen the Miles Turner thing. I really don't, as good as they're on pace for, what does that really mean for them? Does that move the needle as far as getting to a championship, rather than taking a swing on a player that could be possibly like a all-star level player in the future to pair up with another all-star level guard? So that's how I see it for them.
Yeah, and those are fair points. The other thing I will chime in though is Rick Carlisle hates rookies, so like there's that, yeah, right? Like the only reason Chris Duarte got playing time is because he's an older, basically he's already collecting Social Security checks. Right. I think one of the other teams too, when you're looking at this, we pitched the Orlando one, and that's the one with the reporting and 6-11. When I was talking to one of the guys who covers the Magic the other day, he kind of talking about this report was the idea that they don't necessarily have to move both in the same deal. And so there could be a possibility, right, where it's just a 1-for-1 trade down to 4 to 6. And then maybe, if the Magic really like, maybe it's Amen Thompson or somebody with that number 4 pick, then, and they want to guarantee they get their guy, you slide down a couple spots to number 6 and you pick up a future first round draft pick, right? One of those, one of those trades where it doesn't quite move the needle. It's not like a splashy trade.
Right.
But you're picking up an extra asset, and it'd be one of those like smart front office moves where you're like, okay, like, and from Orlando, right? A team who's kind of on the come up, but not quite there yet. Maybe you throw some protections on it, like top 6 protected or top 4 protected or something on a future first. That could be enough to grease the wheels, depending on if there's somebody at the top of the pecking order that the Magic.
I got one for you. I got one just popped in my head. Would you do this? Just 6 alone to Orlando. No future first. Just
four alone to Orlando, right?
I mean, 4 goes to Orlando. Okay. We get 6. We don't touch 11. But instead of a future pick, we ask for Jalen Suggs.
Ooh, the reclamation project.
Yeah, it's paramount. I mean, I know people Orlando fans actually like him. So from talking to most of them, I know around the NBA, he's a severely depressed asset as the number 5 pick in Jalen Green's class. I actually like him defensively. He came out supposed to be a leader. That was his main thing. I don't know how that translates to that team, but if you're going to draft number 4, you're probably picking up a guard, I'm assuming.
You remember his run with the Zags, man? Like I was bought in. Yeah. I had Suggs at the top of my board for a little while. Like I was like, he is the guy. Like I kind of felt the same way about Suggs that I kind of feel about Scoot, where I was just like, that's an on the court leader, floor general, good defender, like all that. Like give me that, right? And he hasn't been able to materialize it yet. The Rockets would be the rehab team of the NBA, man. You're rehabilitating Ime Udoka, you're rehabbing KPJ, you're rehabbing Jalen Suggs. I mean, just bring all the reclamation projects to the Rockets at that point.
Because they have so many ball handlers there. I know they're prioritizing Franz running the show a little bit. Paolo, he's a ball handler that could run the show.
Yeah.
You have Markelle Fultz, who they are super high on over there. I know he has one more year, but looking like I don't know what they're going to do for him. And I'm sure they love Jalen Suggs and wouldn't give up on him that easily. But if I could just swap him out and get maybe Brandon Miller or at 4, or Amen Thompson at 4, even Cam Whitmore, somebody, a shooter that I could add to all these creators. That's an intriguing thing to me, because if you watch how they use him, he's not really like the focal point. He's like maybe the 4th or 5th guy on the team, and most of the time he takes shots that are forced because he's not being prioritized. You bring him to Houston, hey, that dude, if he is allowed to point guard in the system, I think Ime would do wonders with him. and he'll be able to, use his skill set here with all these scores that we have here in Houston. So a little on the go trade there.
I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. You know what? I would do it because at that point you're taking a flyer on Jalen Suggs. Maybe he just needs a change, right? And we've seen it before, right? Players who just need a change of scenery, or they take a couple extra years to get up to speed at the NBA level to really tap into who they are as players, that kind of thing. I think you're right. I think he would flourish with Ime Udoka as his coach. And then at pick number 6, right? You're still going to get one of.
Yep. Exactly.
Amin, Asar, or Cam Whitmore. Like, that's still a huge win. To me,
or
there's
Jarris,
not like a
Jarris
Walker, sure. There's still a lot of I don't think Orlando would do it, honestly, but I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'm all over that.
I think a lot of these trades are going to be like where you have all these alternate scenarios, and as soon as the picks are coming in, you need to just have those teams on speed dial.
Yeah.
Like as soon as bang, okay, we can see that who's falling. Brandon Miller is going at 4. We see it. And if the Rockets are like, okay, we like Brandon, but not that much, call Orlando right now. Just hey, let's do this. And I think it's one of those deals. So I think they'll have multiple options literally in real time as the picks are made to see where they want to move or what moves they want to make. So it's going to be a crazy draft night, I'm sure, for Rafael in the front office.
Coming up, we're going to get into some other trade down scenarios as well as other things to pay attention to on draft night, which is just 9 days away. It is right around the corner. We're going to get there in just one moment. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make your way over to FanDuel right now because new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't pay out. Right now, you can take a look at who the World Series favorites are this MLB season. The Atlanta Braves currently plus 450 to win it all. LA Dodgers also right there at plus 450. You got the Tampa Bay Rays at plus 550. And then your Houston Astros are at plus 700. So for all those odds and more, there's no better place to bet on all of the MLB action, as well as any other upcoming sports, NFL, NBA offseason odds. It's all there over at America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, one of these other teams that I think could be an interesting trade down candidate, Frank, is, and this is so much of this, right, is dependent on what some of these other teams are trying to do, but the Washington Wizards are in like this weird state of flux, right, where it kind of feels like they're careening towards a full-scale rebuild now. They just hired a new president of basketball operations, former Clippers general manager Michael Winger, and he's been given like the green light to just, clean house, to do whatever he wants organizationally, right? And the Wizards for a while had been one of those teams, right? Maybe like Kings East, where they've been caught in limbo with what they're trying to do. Do you stay competitive? Do you try to bottom out? They've been floating in that like 8 to 13 pick range for a while, the treadmill of mediocrity. If they decide that they wanted to go, full scale rebuild, right? I think that could be a team that really looks at kind of pushing their chips in a little bit more and trying to get one of the top prospects in this year's draft. And that jump from 8 to 4 is pretty significant if they look at and identify, right, okay, we feel really great about an Amin Thompson or an Asar Thompson or Cam Whitmore, and we don't want to wait and see who falls to us down at pick number 8.
Yeah, I was actually looking over there at their roster, trying to see because I went through to prepare for this, looking at trades that we could make with each kind of the top 10 people. And their roster is weird. They have a very weird roster. Obviously, you got the Kyle Kuzmas on there. I've talked about it on the Chop Shop for Kristaps Porzingis. I think he'd be great in Houston, but he's an expiring coming up. So the Bradley Beal with that.
Oh, you could sign and trade Porzingis.
That is a thing, and I honestly
or just outright sign him, right? You just go get him.
Yeah, or you could just get him, and I think that Kristaps would be a great pairing with Sengun. That's my little side. Like,
you want to go all in on the European front court, huh? You're all about it.
Perfect pair, bro. I'm talking about I just, obviously they've never played together, but they complement each other. The length, it's like the Wemby at home, right? It's Kristaps Porzingis. So and I was really high on the Wemby and Sengun.
He's the HEB brand Wemby. There you go. That's
hey,
what it is.
No.
HEB brand is
Okay.
good. No, HEB brand is good. That's why I put it out there. Like, come on.
Okay, I got your HEB and fellow Texans. We're not gonna let Jackson do that. He's I'm not even gonna slander Walmart. He's the Dollar General version right now. But maybe Wemby might be the Dollar General Porzingis. I know we're going off on a tangent here, but the Wizards, I don't really see what I like on their roster. Maybe if you think that the Rockets are high on Bradley Beal, but to try to get him over here, maybe that'll be the next player after Kyrie already commits that we'll try to sabotage our future with. But with the Wizards, aside from the Kristaps thing, I really don't really see like what value they would be able to.
Monte Morris maybe as like a pseudo backup point guard. Get somebody who's like a legitimate actual point guard on the roster if they completely strike out everywhere else.
For us to support them getting a franchise level player at 4, I mean, they would have to give us stuff like future stuff. Yes, like the Monte Morrises and try to help, because we're helping them out a lot.
So like Monte Morris and like a future pick, does that get it done? I think that gets it done. Like that's, you're moving 4 spots. I mean,
it's going to have to be 2 picks. Or I guess the current pick counts. Yeah. So that you're at 8. Yeah. I mean, I could see that, but to me, we'd be doing them the favor because, it's the Wizards. Like, just let them wallow in their own self.
no sympathy for the other teams. You're like, you know what? You're like, no, what? You made your bed, now lie in it. All right, Washington, have fun. You guys gave Bradley Beal the no trade clause. You deal with it. All right, that's
and drafted Johnny Davis. Shout out to him.
Oh man,
what happened to him?
Is he still making Taco Bell commercials? Or
I don't know. He's still on their roster, man. Like that's I don't. Yeah, so. I don't know. Unless Kristaps, like I said, I would love Kristaps Porzingis on this team. I think he'd be a perfect fit here, because he addresses the lob threat and he can pick and pop and he fits
lob threat,
yes, and a lob threat that you could play with Sengun, and he fits multiple lineups you could do. The shot blocking is there, rebounding. I don't know why.
I like how this has become the Kristaps Porzingis episode. Yes. This is great.
Let's give that man some love.
I mean, I could see it, right? Like I can see. I have some hesitancy behind it, if only because like you have a player who is paired with one of the top 5 guys in the NBA, right, in Luka, and couldn't make it work with him because he stylistically didn't like playing off of Luka because he wanted to play like his style, right? He wanted, and I think that element, right, that ego element, right, it's the same reason we saw Dwight struggle to play with James, right? Is Dwight had Shaq in his ear all day long, say, you're not a real big man, you don't post up, like all that, and Dwight got his fragile ego hurt. And so I don't know if Porzingis is quite to like that level, but if he came here and played off Sengun, he would be back in that role.
I'm gonna defend him. I'm gonna tie this back into Steven Silas and how he utilizes players in that offense. Mm-hmm. Porzingis was reduced down to Christian Wood, which is pick and pop, and he is so much more than that. And I agree with them. Like, if you remember, this was a guy that they used to call the unicorn, and to be reduced to basically a role player that, like what we were mad about Jabari being done, where we just wanted Jabari to just flare out for threes when they were running pick and rolls. It's just lack of imagination in that Dallas offense. And that's why it's hard to play in that style of offense with the Hardens, with the Lukas. I think in a more diverse offense, like even Washington did with him, you can see his full range. He should be posting up. He should be rim running. He should be popping out for threes. I just feel like Ime Udoka coming out of that Popovich tree is more imaginative with his offensive system, that players like that. And that's why I'm happy we got him. One of the reasons I love our coach is that Jabari is not just going to be a guy that's going to pop out for threes. They're going to try to explore multiple ways to get him on mismatches. So I don't think Kristaps has like I'm sure all of them have egos, but I actually agree with them. Like, they were using him terribly and like just turned him into just basically a pick and pop guy. So yeah, that was my issue with them. But just my little dream.
Okay, again,
Wemby at home.
Wemby at home. I mean, again, he does a lot of even if he's 70% of what Wemby ultimately becomes, or maybe Wemby's only 70% of what Kristaps Porzingis becomes.
Y'all sleeping on Chris. Remember in New York, this dude was on path to be one of the generational players in NBA history, and injuries. So
that is the other part with Porzingis, right? When's the last time he had a healthy season, right? I mean, his game log is he played 65 this last season. A combined, what was it, in 51 the year before that, 43, 57. Yeah. He's played more than 60 games two times in his entire career. Sorry, 3 times.
Yeah.
Rookie
his
jersey,
back of his jersey, when they call him out, would be DNP.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so we've got, we've got extenuating circumstances. We've got DNP.
Man, Kyrie and Kristaps pick and roll. DNP goes up for the law from extenuating circumstance. The Rockets win the championship. Yeah.
Oh my! On that deserves an oh my.
Oh my!
That's how good all that was. And also, you know what? Steven Silas over there on the sidelines in Dallas when Porzingis wasn't spotting up in the corner, he was going.
They're not getting after it like they're supposed to.
The film room.
Oh man!
He's like looking at him like, "This is my coach." No wonder he left, bro. But yeah.
Oh man! All right. On that note, Frank, you know the drill. Let everyone know where they can track you down at.
Hey, for sure on Twitter, FTank58, the Rockets Chop Shop. I'll be doing live streams on the Bleacher Report app as well, so you guys support that. And shout out to Jackson for keeping us good content over the summer, because man, it's been boring these past few days. It's gonna get exciting. The draft's coming up, so I'm looking forward to everything. Appreciate you, dog.
And that's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, the Odyssey app, free and available on all podcast platforms. We're also available on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.